Welcome back, SmartPak fans. We're here filming July's Ask the Vet video with SmartPak staff veterinarian and medical director, Dr. Lydia Gray.
Hi there.
I'm SmartPaker Sarah, and I'll be reading the questions that were voted on by you guys, submitted by readers.
That means
like
I'll be answering them.
You will be answering the
Got it.
questions. I hope you came prepared.
Ooh, we'll see.
So if you guys have had questions answered in previous episodes, you are eligible for a gift certificate from SmartPak. And if you guys haven't submitted a question yet, you could win in the future. If you've submitted a question and haven't gotten your gift card, email CustomerCare at SmartPak so that you can get that and start shopping. One unofficial question that we did get for the series is, well, you don't have to answer this one. I'll tackle this one. Why do we always dress the same?
Oh.
Because twinning is fun, I think, for one thing. And we have a lot of awesome apparel at SmartPak, and so we love to pick out things that look great. And also Nels likes to make sure, Nels is our videographer. Nels likes to make sure that we look
smashing.
Smashing. I think that's accurate.
Good word.
Yeah. And so we also don't want our clothes to distract from what we're talking about, because horse health is the most important thing here at SmartPak. So we really want you guys to be able to focus on that and not worry too much about what we're wearing.
There you have it.
So with that, let's jump into the first question. This one's a long one.
Oh boy.
And it was submitted by Kristen, and she emailed it to our customer care team. And Kristen wonders, I'm adopting a draft horse with whom I've worked for several years. He's a 10 to 12-year-old Belgian gelding who has a slight wobble in his head when he's standing at liberty or while tied, as well as a stringhalt-like symptoms in his right hind. She's been told that his condition is called Shivers, though to the best of her knowledge, it's never been officially diagnosed by a veterinarian. He appears to be otherwise workably sound and happy to do his job with the farm and his teammate. It's been something that we've learned to work around. From her understanding of the condition, it's degenerative, so she's anticipating a lot of time over the next few years making sure his quality of life is the best it can be. Are there any exercises, feeding programs, or supplements that will help his Shivers symptoms?
Oh, Shivers.
You came prepared.
Well, I am, because, of course, Newman has it.
Of course.
Of course.
Like many things.
Everything. So the short answer to her question is not really. The longer answer is, for the benefit of everyone else, what is Shivers? And so it's a disease it's a neuromuscular condition that's been around for centuries.
Neuro meaning?
Nervous system.
Muscle meaning?
Muscle system.
Okay, good one. I tried to trick you on that one.
I got you.
Okay.
I'm awake. And so what happens is, classically you see it in early stages when horses back. You ask them to back, and they pick up a hind leg, they take it out to the side, they hyperflex it, overflex it, shake it a little bit, and then slap it down. As the disease progresses, and she's right, it does progress. Not every horse, but a lot of them, 70%, so the majority. You can see it with the head and the neck, very common in Belgians. You can see it maybe in the first 1 or 2 steps of the walk, not usually in the trot, but it does affect them standing, sleeping, they lose weight, and a lot of horses eventually, if they go this route, do get put down for it. Vitamin E, always recommended for neuromuscular conditions, perhaps selenium. Turnout and light exercise, usually good for this. Always a complete and balanced diet. There is a question of, is this related to PSSM, polysaccharide storage myopathy, a completely different muscle condition, but because a lot of horses, Belgians especially, that have Shivers have PSSM, it's coincidental at this point. But the advice for that is a high-fat, low-sugar diet doesn't hurt these guys. So, but I will caution her, you've got to get your veterinarian out there and get a diagnosis, because there are quite a few neuromuscular conditions that have a funny way of looking, a hitch in the get-along, so to speak. And you've got to understand, you've got to know for sure what this is. She mentioned stringhalt, different condition. So PSSM, EPM, there's a lot of things out there. You've got to make sure that the horse has Shivers, because what if it's something else that you could do something about? Yeah. The thing, I did go to a talk last year, and what I learned from that is that draft horses, it's common in warm bloods, thoroughbred crosses, but 16-3 hands seems to be a predisposing factor.
Okay.
Tall horses. Ponies rarely, if ever, have this. So that was a huge piece to be added to our puzzle.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, that's, I think, about as much as you can hope to know.
Yeah, yeah. It's a tough condition.
Our next question is submitted by Maya, and she emailed as well. And she's wondering, her horse's sheath gets very dirty very quickly, and she can give him baths and keep it clean in the spring, summer, early fall. But when it's really cold, how can she clean his sheath without getting him all cold and wet?
I have a short answer for this one too. You might be surprised. I don't think sheaths really need cleaned.
You don't think sheaths need to be cleaned?
Not really. And especially not as often as she's doing it.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure about my answer. I thought maybe I'm just being lazy, so I double checked. And there is the American Association of Equine Practitioners. We talk about AAEP, we shorten it because that's a mouthful. They have articles, health articles on their website. And one of them is written by a board-certified theriogenologist. So I know that's a person who's an expert, a specialist in reproduction.
Oh, okay.
And his first little introductory paragraph was, horses' sheaths don't really need cleaned. So I thought, yes, I'm on the right track. And it's because there's a normal production of material, there's a normal flora and fauna of bacteria, and when we get in there with harsh soaps and scrubbing with rough materials and water that might not be have the right consistency, we alter that perhaps to the worse. Mm-hmm. So we might be, by all this cleaning, doing more harm than good.
Okay.
Again, I throw this out, think of the Mustangs. Nobody ever cleans them, and they do just fine. They actually have a higher conception rate than our domestic horses. So that might be a little evidence that maybe we're being a little overzealous on the cleaning.
Probably more opportunity for breeding among the Mustangs.
Maybe,
all out loose
maybe
together.
not. We'll see.
All right. So our next question is submitted by Kelly on YouTube. Kelly is our first three-peat.
Oh my gosh, Kelly.
Kelly, our future DVM, our first three-peat question. And Kelly's wondering, going along with the water after work question from last month, thank you for watching, Kelly. We appreciate you. What about feeding them grain? When is it safe to feed our horses after or even before riding? I was told 30 minutes. Is that true?
Yeah.
This is a people question too. It's like you can't eat before you go swimming.
Oh, right.
The same sort of thing.
Yeah, so I'm not going to touch that territory because that's somebody else's, but I'll just speak to the horses. One thing we know, so we look at the different facts and then we sort of add the facts up into a picture, and I don't know if that's called deduction or induction, inductive reasoning, whatever, but so the horse's stomach empties in anywhere from 30 minutes, if it's mostly liquid, like if they take a big drink of water, to it can be as much as 12 hours, but 2 to 4 hours is sort of the standard, the average, the norm. So you think if you feed your horse a big meal, grain meal, 2 to 4 hours you'll be gone. But nowadays, think about it, who's feeding big grain meals? I think we, SmartPak, have done a pretty good job of saying maybe grain isn't the best thing, and maybe large meals of grain aren't the best thing, even if your horse needs grain. So horses that are getting, hay in a small whole hay nets 24/7, or they're getting ration balancers or multivitamins, they're not getting these huge meals. You can probably work them anytime. Now, if your horse is getting a large meal, and I would say a large meal would be like 2-3 more pounds, think of the time that if the horse is eating and then you take the horse out of the stall, you've got to groom them, you've got to tap them up, you've got at least a 10-minute walk warm up. So you've got 30, 45 minutes after they've eaten of non-work activities.
Giving them time to settle.
Yeah, so I don't worry about it a lot. Now, it does depend on what you're doing. I mean, if you're doing a walk ride, this really doesn't matter. If you're doing pretty heavy exercise, intense, then giving them more time between an actual meal and giving them more time after the exercise before the meal is not a bad idea, but I don't think it's as critical as we were thought. Again, like the water, I think it all comes from Black Beauty, right?
It's the source of so many horse care mysteries and myths.
Good and bad, both, yeah.
So it sounds like if you're kind of mimicking nature, if you're trickle feeding your horse and allowing him to have small, access to food constantly, he's taking in little bits at a time, you can exercise your horse whenever. If you're feeding large grain meals, having to schedule your work around that may be just another additional problem you're dealing with from feeding.
I hadn't thought of it that way, but sure.
Large grain meals.
Yeah.
And then, one of the things that this question doesn't address but made me think of was maybe there's actually more risk from working on an empty stomach. If you're working your horse on an empty stomach, could you talk about why that might be?
Yeah.
It's one of our favorite things
to talk
about.
And I know some disciplines prefer to work on the empty stomach, but that might not be the healthiest thing for horses, because I think where you were going,
where I'm
there's
going.
not bubbles I've ever had, but I know where she's going,
Yep.
is ulcers. So
exactly
because horses release acid, gastric acid, all the time, there's always acid in their stomach. If there's not always food in the stomach, sort of soak that up, then it's eating away at the lining of the stomach, and that's painful. So if you keep a little bit of food in there all the time, they're happier, they're healthier. I think their attitude's better, their performance has got to be better. So hopefully we can slowly over time dispel that myth too.
All right, I like it. Our next question is from Emily, and she also submitted her question on YouTube. And following the vitamin D question we had last month, we now have a vitamin E question. Ooh. My vet has recently been pushing for all of her clients' horses to get more vitamin E.
Yay!
What is vitamin E used for in the horse? How much should a horse be getting per day? And should you use a natural or unnatural supplement? What's the difference? So based on your reaction, I'm guessing you're not a fan of vitamin E.
I'm a huge fan of vitamin E. What we know about it is that there's really high levels in fresh grass. So horses that are on pasture are probably doing great. We also know that not a lot of horses are on pasture.
Certainly not in significant amounts.
Yeah. I mean, this is like all day turnout pasture.
Right, not like what he can reach under the fence.
That does not count, yeah. So then you've got to make that up. Now the NRC, which is the nutrient requirement of horses, says that 1 to 2 international units, sorry, that's the unit they use, per kilogram of horse. Oh, metric. So a 500 kilogram horse is about 1,100 pounds. So we're talking 500 to 1,000 units, international units of vitamin E a day is like the basic you need to sustain life. We're not talking optimum here, and we're not talking the exercising horse or the sick or injured horse, or horse that might need more vitamin E, a horse with a neuromuscular condition such as Shivers. So in that case, it might be more like 2,000, 5,000 for a horse with a vitamin E responsive myopathy muscle condition.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've heard of 10,000 international units. Yeah.
Okay.
So then it comes to her question, which I thought was cute, the natural, or she called it unnatural. We use the terms
supernatural.
Yes, right. We use the terms natural or synthetic.
Okay.
Yeah. So natural, and here's your tip for label reading. Natural will say D alpha tocopherol. Okay. Because alpha tocopherol is the thing that we measure in the blood. It's the isomer. It's the version of vitamin E that's active in the body. The synthetic vitamin E will say DL, alpha tocopherol.
Okay.
So you just look at that little L, and then you know it's synthetic. Both are fine. There's no problem with them. It's just that the natural is more bioactive. Some use the word potent in place of bioactive, but when you feed natural, all of the vitamin E is going to serve as an antioxidant specifically for nervous and muscle tissue. When you feed a synthetic vitamin E, not all of the alpha tocopherol is bioactive, is available for the body to use, only about 1/8 of it. So you just have to feed more, but it's less expensive. So it's kind of a decision that the horse owner makes, knowing the value of both natural and synthetic.
Okay. If you guys want to learn more about natural vitamin E particularly, you can go to smartpak.com/research and click on the link for our vitamin E research study, which was completed by our very own Dr. Lydia Gray.
That's why I like it so much.
And I picture you when you say you're a fan of vitamin E, like making signs and like holding them
Thumb
up,
fingers,
cheering. Yeah. Just really like, vitamin E is number one.
Number one.
But, I don't know if you would say it's number one. I don't know. There's no other number you would say. It's number one international units, perhaps.
I'm a little bit nerdy that way. I probably would say that.
Make it very accurate. Okay, our next question was submitted on YouTube, and it was Majorica Pearls, that is a guess, at how that is pronounced. And her question is much more straightforward than her
Okay.
name. I assumed it to be a her. How do you treat and prevent stubborn cases of scratches?
Oh, scratches. You can tell they're frustrating.
Especially, well, you live in Illinois, so you guys are dealing with some pretty serious mud.
Midwest. Scratches are like a national problem, a universal problem, but it turns out that they're different in different parts of the country. Like in Arizona, they have like sand scratches or something.
Sounds painful.
I know. Scratches can be painful. There's a range, right? We're talking about the pastern of the horse. Just so I'll back up a little bit here. The back of the pastern, so between the heel and the ankle. Are you with me? Okay. And so it can get just a little bit warm, pink, red, or it can break out in scabs and fluid and hair loss, and it can be painful. So when the horse moves, it hurts, you know.
This is a really high motion area with the joint flexing
Yeah, and
there.
so you're moving that area, and it's not comfortable. So does it happen because of an infection? Or does it happen because of environment, like chapping, wet, dry, wet, dry, wet, dry? Probably because the organisms involved can be different in different parts of the country, and treatments are all different. Probably it starts with the opportunity of a break in the skin because of the environment, and then bacteria that live there normally say, well, what the heck, we may as well, you know, set up house. And then all heck breaks loose. And so the important thing that I tell people is don't add to the wet, dry by soaking or using excessive water or harsh soaps to clean, picking the scabs off. Do what your vet tells you, and this is an area I would involve my vet right away. But I like to clean as dry as possible. I use something called dermacloths because it's not water. I don't get them wet and then they don't get dry and then just make it worse, a vicious cycle.
And where do you buy your dermacloths?
From SmartPak.
That's the right answer.
So I clean it and then I put whatever lotion, potion, ointment that my vet recommends. And again, that's different parts of the country. If you find something, a cleaner or a topical that works, buy stock and use it. Don't keep switching around, because I've got people in Indiana, Illinois, Michigan that like this product, and I got people in Arizona, New Mexico, California that like this product. So
and different horses may respond differently as well.
And different colors of horses and breeds. Look at draft horses with the feathers. So one tip is you've got to clip or shave. I'm sorry, all the hair off because to allow healing. Without further damaging the skin. You've
but
got
you
to
want
allow
to do the right thing
air and sunlight.
for the horse.
So it'll grow back. It's fine.
It will.
Yeah, trust
it always
us.
does.
Yeah.
We've cut our hair.
Yeah.
It grows back.
It does.
It's always a little hard at first. Okay, well that's it. We've made it through another month of questions.
Wow.
Thank you guys so much for the wonderful submissions, and thank you all for voting so that we can make sure we're answering your most pressing questions, the most popular topics. We will be accepting questions for the next video through July 1st, and you can use hashtag #askthevetvideo when you post your question on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or if you want to email it to customercare@smartpak.com. We'd love to hear your question there as well. If your question is selected and makes it into the top 5, you will win one of those SmartPak gift cards we talked about in the opener. So
Kelly.
It's definitely, seriously, Kelly, what are you going to get? I think she might be up to a saddle at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all we have for this time. If you guys have any thoughts, we would love to hear your feedback. Don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss the next Ask the Vet video, and leave us comments. Let us know what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, and have a great ride.